Lisa here. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the Stamp Anything YouTube channel and my final project for Fanny Friday for the October 2022 release. In today's video, we are working with Gwen and we are stenciling. We're making a shaker card. I'm going to share with you how you can stamp on glitter paper. We're going to be doing all of the things. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and turn on your post notifications. Be sure you're following all the social media. That is linked down below along with all the supplies that I use in today's video. What else do I need to tell you? That's it. If you missed it, the Holidayville grab and go box is currently for sale along with the magical celebrations. I've shared unboxings of both of those and you can find those over on the Stamp Anything website as well. So yeah, don't forget to join the Facebook group. I try to mention that every video because there are so many resources in that group and there's always someone doing a live, sharing techniques, tips, etc. So without further ado, let's head over to my craft table and I'm going to walk you through how I created this fun shaker card using Gwen. Go ahead and start the card by doing some stenciling. So I have a piece of really deep gray cardstock and I'm going to be using some paper glaze, embossing paste, etc. with this stencil. My idea for this card layer was it was going to look like a wall, like so either wallpaper or maybe the wall inside of a castle. In my head, this is a holiday card, but it absolutely doesn't have to be. So again, I'm just going to put this on there. I don't want it to be even. I want it to look a little bit messy, so I'm not really paying attention to like how far it comes down or if it's in an even line. And I just really want it to be there and give some texture and some dimension. And this is a fun way to get use out of your stencils that isn't, adding color or ink blending, etc. You just want to make sure that you wash these immediately. So I did this first so my background would have an opportunity to dry. But once I got done with this part, I immediately went and put these, washed them off in the sink. If you just run some water on it, well, I guess it depends on what you're using, but for this I was just able to run some water off of it and run water on the palette knife and the stencil, and the stuff came right off. So I'm cutting this down to 4 by 5 1/4. At first I thought I was going to make it a little bit wider because I wanted to make sure that I had enough room for Gwen and the idea that I had, but I decided to go ahead and just cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4. So I cut another piece of the window out of another piece of gray, and I am going to be attaching this to a piece of acetate. This is actually the extra acetate that came with one of the stamps. I like to save that and put it to the side and use it for shaker cards. It's almost always the perfect shape or perfect size. So I'm going to get that adhered down, and then I'm going to cut it around the acetate. And then this is what's going to be outside our window. So this is the tree stencil from the Holidayville grab and go box. And I'm going to be using this with one ink pad. So I'm going to do a light kind of dusting of ink on the solid part of the tree, and then I'm going to bring in the other part of the tree and just go deeper. This gives you the ability to create dimension, but with only one ink pad, so you don't have to have a ton of ink out when you do this. And again, just making it more concentrated will give it texture, change the color, etc. It's kind of, think of it like backward second generation stamping. Except it's stenciling instead. Then I'm going to bring in a dark blue to go around the tree, and I am not trying to do this perfectly. It's going to look a little splotchy. It's not going to look blended, and that's okay. Again, this is number 1, a night sky, and number 2, it's going to be through acetate, so it's going to look a little wonky anyway, and that's perfectly okay. So it's just supposed to look like a night sky. It doesn't have to be perfect. This isn't the focal point, you know what I mean? Like, this is just to have something be outside the window. I'm going to bring in a little bit of white acrylic paint. I'm going to water it down with some water, and then I am going to use the bristles of an old paintbrush to create like snowflakes or stars, maybe both. It's completely up to you. You can make them a little bigger if you wanted to, but I kept mine pretty small. Again, it's not meant to be the focal point, but it is something that I want you to be able to see. So I have some double-sided foam, double-sided adhesive foam that I picked up off Amazon, and I'm using that to cut out the window. That way I have the perfect size piece of foam for the shaker part. And this is a great tip for that. That way I didn't want to have to deal with little pieces because you'd have to cut it really, really thin. And then I was like, you know what, let's just do this. And so I picked up a package of these. I think I got like 10 or 12 pieces for less than $8 or $9. And let me tell you, it's a very good investment. It's a very good investment. Okay, so I just had some random shaker bits on my desk that I wanted to use up. Like the tiniest amount. But there are tons of great shaker materials or adornments in the shop. And I will link some in the description box down below that I think would be beautiful with this card. I just didn't have any. All I had were the bigger kind of dots. And I wanted something that, again, that wasn't so big and didn't take up so much of the space. So this is my idea for the window. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out another window from this card panel. And that's because I want to inset the shaker part of this because I didn't want to pop up Gwen. So Gwen would be like half popped up and half not popped up. I wanted the background to be kind of flat. That way I could adhere her flat on the front. So I'm using a T-square ruler to help with this because if not, it would be very, very crooked. And again, I'm going to cut that out. And then this is going to get some foam tape on the back. And then I'm going to end up putting this on a piece of red cardstock. So the red cardstock measures 4 1/4 by 11. I'm going to score it at 5 1/2. And then I'm going to bring in some black glitter paper that I'm going to cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then I am going to share with you my idea. That's kind of how it's going to look. But I wanted to go ahead and, like I said, make this an inset. So I'm going to go ahead and add this tape to that. I went ahead and put it kind of dry fit to make sure it was going to work. I'm going to take off the backing paper of the adhesive, and then I'm going to stick this down. And I know it sounds really complicated, but it's really not. That makes the same exact size hole as the die does, and so my shaker will automatically fit in there. And if you need to move things around, when you set it in, you'll see where the glue is. I put the glue, the Stamp Anything liquid glue on the back of that and got it set in the inside. And now we're ready to color. So again, I am going to share with you how you can stamp on glitter papers. So I wanted a glittery dress, like skirt part of her dress. So you're going to want to use StazOn ink for this. So StazOn is a permanent ink, won't smear, and I stamped, I think, 3 times. And then here I'm sharing with you, I brought in a micron pen. A micron pen is an archival pen, so it'll work with Copics. And I'm just going back over it to make sure I can see it for when I go to add a little bit of dimension. And then I decide I just want kind of the bustle of the, is that the bustle? Is that a bustle? I don't know. I want that part of the skirt. And the kind of bodice of the dress and the kind of slip part of the dress is going to be in shades of red. And we're going to work on that. So I'm using my favorite red combination, which is, oh, no, we're going to do skin first. Pardon me. I apologize. Oh, yeah, I have to do skin before I do red. Like, I have to do everything before I do red. If not, I'm taking my own life in my hands, pulling red. There is nothing worse than accidentally pulling red from another spot. Because for whatever reason, red seems to be the messiest of all the markers. I don't know why, but it is. So I'm just doing like I normally do. Darkest to lightest. And again, where her kind of flower is on her head, that would have a bit more shadow underneath it because it's not on her, like it's elevated above her head. It's not like stuck to her head. If it was real life. I mean, I know this is not real life, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and do this a couple of times, and then I'm going to bring in some pink for her cheeks. and just a little bit of R20 for that. And then I'm going to continue going over it. And that's kind of what I do. I really like to blend, make sure everything looks as seamless as possible. I'm going a little bit around the eyes to give the sockets a little bit of definition, and then using my lightest color in the middle of the face. And then I'm going to do the same thing to her arms and her neck. For her neck, I'm going to use the darkest colors. And then for her arms, I'm going to do a gradient from darkest to light. I love her, like her arms are so dainty. I just like her pose. I love this pose. I love it, love it, love it. So we're going to make a ginger today, and I am using one of my favorite color combos for red hair. And again, it's like E19, E08, and other colors. Again, I had them at the beginning of this portion of our broadcast. And I am just flicking back and forth. Normally, I would just stick with 3 colors, but for her hair this time, I think I ended up using 4 or 5. And that's because I wanted to bring in a little bit of that deepest kind of reddy brown to really give some darker and deeper dimension. Again, around where her hair is, or excuse me, where the flower is, and again, where her hair kind of bends. And then if you didn't notice, her hair is kind of swept behind her neck, and then it goes over the side. So on the right side of her head, where the vines and stuff are, I don't even try to do any kind of fancy ink blending over there. I just do a solid color. And again, just flicking back and forth. I am a paper turner. I apologize if you are not, but I just really, that's how I like to do it. So this is a combination of E's and YR markers. And isn't that just the prettiest? Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Love it, love it, love it. So for behind her neck and the places that would be the darkest, I'm using the brown marker. And again, it goes behind, like you can see it through her right arm. Her right, our left. And I'm not doing any kind of fancy blending in those areas. I'm just putting down the darkest color. That way I can blend it down. I love coloring hair. I don't know what it is about hair, but it's just so much fun. I think it's because I'm someone who likes to change my hair color every now and again. And this way you can have all sorts of wild and crazy colors. I keep threatening to dye it purple, and I haven't. I promised my husband I wouldn't do it while I was working in the public. He's like, would you not yet? Wait till you retire or something. So, and I still haven't done it. I did just go like it was supposed to be a rose gold color or like a coral color, and it just came out a vibrant red, which I absolutely love. I shouldn't say a natural redhead. When I got hair, it was red. Then as I aged, it turned a bit more auburn. And now I couldn't even tell you what my natural hair color is because I haven't seen it in a very long time. I've had gray since I was 8. So it's something that I've always liked to cover. And like I said, I like to play with my hairstyle. I like to play with my hair color. And yeah, and that's probably why I like to color hair so much. So once I got her hair done, now I'm going to move on to the dress, and I'm going to be using my favorite red combination, which is R59, R46, and R35. So, oh no, we're going to do the vines first. Misty, did you not watch this before you did this voiceover? Yes, I did. Yes, actually I did. So I'm taking the deepest green and just really drawing a line in the middle or coming toward the end, closer to the vine to add a little bit of the darkness. Again, these are really tiny spots to try to do any kind of real intricate blending, but you can add some definition and stuff just by adding a little bit of a darker marker and then going in with a lighter marker to lighten it up and to add just a little bit of dimension. Again, not the focal part of the image or even the card really, the vine isn't, but you still want it to look finished. And if it wasn't colored or if you didn't do a little bit of blending, I feel like it would look a little bit unfinished. But that's just my opinion. And at the end of the day, again, coloring is subjective, so you have to color it the way you like to color. So I am using a C marker to go where the folds are, where the pleating is, just to add a little bit more dimension. This is so sparkly. I love it so much. I love it, love it, love it. I love it so much. This was such a good idea. Sometimes I get really good ideas, and sometimes I get an idea that just doesn't work out and it bums me out. But this one worked out. I really, really do like it. And again, I just used Stays On ink. I had to stamp it probably 2 or 3 times to get it dark enough so I could see it. And then went over it again with the archival pen so I could add dimension, etc. So that is how that's going to glue on. So I'm going to bring in a water-based marker, and I'm going to go around the outside edges with black. That way you don't see the white core of the paper. So for the dress, again, with the reds, where I am putting the deepest is closest to the kind of bustle of the skirt, and then at the bottom of the bodice and the bottom of the sleeves, one of the fannies posted a card using this image in the Facebook group, and she made it look like Cinderella, and she made it look like it's tulle. And I'm like, that is the most genius trick ever in my life. I'm gonna have to repeat it. It was so pretty. And I was like, oh, I love that. So I saved it so I could get some inspiration from it. So as I've mentioned once before, be sure to check out the Facebook group. You can post your own projects. The design team posts their projects. There's always someone doing a live or a segment, etc. So be sure to check it out. And all of the information, including that, is in the description box down below. But yeah, I never thought to even try to make it look like tulle, but she did an amazing job. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. People's talent just amazes me. We have some really talented fannies in the Facebook group. So I'm just using a little bit more liquid glue. I'm trying not to use a whole bunch of this because I don't want it to seep out. And I got a little heavy-handed, so I'm just going to bring in a scrap piece of cardstock to kind of smear it around. That way I don't want it to seep out. Isn't that so pretty? I love it so much. So I'm going around the edges just to add a little bit more of that deeper, darker red. And before we cut her out, I thought I wanted to do just silver on the flowers. So I'm just using a Jelly Roll. Is this a moon? I think these are moon dust pens. And it gives it a really pretty shine. But I was like, it just kind of looked like it was white and not finished. So you can see me on the bottom right practicing. So I went ahead and scribbled some down and went over it with a Copic, and it didn't blend. It didn't bleed. It didn't smear. So I went ahead and went over the glitter pen with markers, and it turned out beautiful. I mean, you could do this skip that step and color it with red, and then you can go over it with a glitter, like with the glitter pen, like the Nuvo pen, Spectrum Noir, etc. We could Stella, all of those. But I really do like the texture of this one, and this is definitely a trick I will be doing again in the future. And again, you can see kind of where I was going with the thought that this could be a holiday card, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a Christmas card. It could be just a winter card. It doesn't even have to be a winter card, to be quite honest. You could have totally skipped the white on the tree and just done like stars. And again, this would really work for any time of year. So I'm going to go ahead and get her adhered flat. And that's going to be it. I didn't add a sentiment, again, because I like to keep my cards mostly open-ended. That way I can add a sentiment at a later date. So here's a look at the shaker, and then just how sparkly that skirt is. I am obsessed. I love it so very, very much. So that's it for this episode of Fanny Friday, friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know what you think of this card in the comments down below. I hope you have a good day, night, weekend, wherever you are, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.